အားလုံးပဲမင်္ဂလာပါကျွန်တော်တို့ပြည်သူ့ပန်းတိုင်းပတ်စဉ်အတွေ့အခေါ်လမ်း
Good evening to all of you. We'd like to welcome you from the People's Go weekly talk show program, and welcome to all the audience joining us here. Today we'll be discussing about justice and transparent judiciary. In the Spring Revolution, each and every one of the people are fighting for inspiring for justice and a peaceful society, along with the building of a federal democracy union, and all of the people are fighting from different ways and different roles for the eradication of the military dictatorship. For this, there's hope of the Spring Revolution. Justice and independent judiciary is very important for a civilized society that we all aspire to, and is incredibly important as well as the umbrella system has strengthened and the momentum has increased. It is also important to prevent that from the issues from emerging, as well as the frictions between different organizations. It is important also to respect and follow the rule of law, and to ensure there is also that way to resolve the conflicts and the issues in a just manner. So what are the essence of rule of law and the transparent, as well as on improved judiciary system? It is also important to understand why transitional justice is important to be able to repair to be able to carry out reparations for that sort of arbitrary that oppression or the bullying that has been committed beyond the revolution as well. That with the future federal union as well as a new federal constitution, the fundamental rights of each and every citizen is important. That's what people also are aspiring to. That in that case, then we have to understand what kind of preparations will you do that. So for today's program, we have invited to the CDM professor from Faculty of Law of the Mandalay University, consultancy, a youth revolutionary youth from AFCC-Mandalay, and that Kaung as CDM captain. So I'll be your moderator. My name is Naung, a CDM fighter. So I would like to extend my greetings to that Siamasu. Siama, could you please introduce yourself? Thank you. Thank you to all the people from Myanmar for joining us from across the country, and also those who are attending the Zoom session in live. I'd like to extend my greetings to all of you. My name is Dr. Siamasu. I'm a CDM professor from Faculty of Law. So, and for those who are if you're joining us during this live session, I'm sure the people are coming to us because you want justice, and that you all want justice as well, and that something is undeniable, that you're interested in justice, and also aspire to having an independent and transparent judiciary. So we would like to welcome all of you also to share your comments as well as on the ask questions. I hope we can have an interactive discussion this evening. I will be talking about justice this evening. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Su. Next, I would like to invite Siama Nancy. Good evening to all of you. My name is Nancy. I'm from I'm a representative of the AFCC-Mandalay, and I'll be participating in today's discussion. So that we are all working hard for justice, and they have an independent judiciary system. So this is something all of you, including our audience, we are also working for, and I hope that I'll be able to contribute to the discussion. Thank you, Siama. Next, I would like to invite Captain Kaung. Kaung, please introduce yourself. Good evening to all the people. I'm a CDM soldier. My name is Kaung. I'm now working in a liberated area. I'm contributing as much as I can to the revolution, giving advice and what that giving advice as well as all the any assistance I could support for the revolution. Thank you to all the panelists for your introductions, and that I would also like to welcome the people who are listening to our talk show. If you have questions or comments, or that if you want to discuss, feel free to join us, and then send your questions and comments. If you want to, if you have your questions, we'll be inviting you to participate directly on the Zoom after our panelists have discussed their questions. That you can also we also like to request you to join us directly on Zoom to ask your questions to our panelists. We also have a special guest to today's session, that the Union Minister of the Energy National Unity Government also is joining us as well. We'll also be welcoming the minister to give advice and then some comments as well. So I just like to inform you of our special guest. So let me start the first round of the discussion. I'd like to give the first question to Dr. Su. So in our society, the rule of the law and the rule of law is very important. So what is the essence of laws or the judiciary in a society? And then how important it is for our society to get the protection of the law or the legal protection. Thank you for the question. When we say society, I think it is important to first define what we mean by society. Society is a collective of human beings. And as when we say human beings, there are a lot of differences. People are diverse. You have gender differences, men, women. You also have different languages. You also have different skin colors. We believe in different faiths or different religions. And the physical appearance also may differ, same as sexual orientation. So in a society, we have people of differences, and that diversity is called a society. And when in a human society, it's a society made up of different people, so that there is also the question of people, does everyone accept that diversity or not? That also is relevant. In a society, you have social issues, you have economic or financial issues, education issues. When you have different issues, all the people want to have equality. That people in their mind, people don't want to be discrimination. If you are among the fair skinned people, and if you are dark skinned, and then if the dark skinned people has been say, oh, you're not like others, and then there is some form of discrimination, the person who is discriminated against will feel that discrimination based on his or her skin color. When we say justice, it is important to think that justice assure no discrimination, that just guarantee that discrimination is stopped. All the human beings have the same that inherent the dignity, human dignity that we are born with. That is something we got from the nature. As all the human beings have the same dignity, in that case, then we can ask why there are discrimination. It's an important point to consider that we need to. That's what a point we need to think about justice. So when we say justice, it is about the equality of rights that must be an important part of justice or judiciary, that equality of rights. And there is also independence, or in other words, freedom. People have the freedom to think. People have the freedom to follow a particular religion. People have the freedom to speak and express their opinion. People will have the freedom to choose their position. And that means that if there are various obstacles for people to their rights, that the people will be pushed farther apart from equality. So in a society, justice is essential. That's why the countries try to guarantee the justice, because it guarantee other important rights. When we say justice, there are two things we need to consider. Firstly, is about the justice, and second is about the judiciary. When we say justice and judiciary, that we need both of them. Because in a society, if you live in a society, of course you want to live freely. You want to be able to educate yourself freely. You want to be able to survive freely, live in your own way. But if an individual or a group or the others will try to restrict your right to live, right to educate, or right to enjoy life, then you will lose your freedoms. You will lose the rights that you are entitled to, and that's why we need to develop laws, and these laws ensure that the rights of the people are protected, and these laws must also be complied with by the people, and these laws need to be enforced, they need to be edited, and they need to be enforced as well. So the enforcement of the law is important as well. People will say that you can draft laws and enact the laws, but then what are they? What are these laws? Some people just drafting and enacting laws. Some people think that is rule of law. No, rule of law is much more deeper than that, much more broader than that. Because if you have laws which are not fair, which are not just, then we still follow rule of law. That is not rule of law as well. So even while we are drafting the laws, it is important to ensure there are standards of justice or standards of fairness. Only then the laws that are just, the laws that are fair will be complied with and followed by the law. If the laws are not just, if the laws are not fair, then you are not obliged to follow. And that's why laws need to be in line with the democratic standards. So democratic standards, human rights, and rule of law are interconnected. They are all, we need to achieve them equally. We cannot differentiate them. So that it is important that also to think about that I think that as well, that we also need to democratic standards. So about the democratic standards, justice, and justice and the human rights are the important principles of justice as well. And then in a law you have the judiciary, you have the legislature and executive. These are the three pillars of in a country, and they all have to carry out their own duties. That as well, it is important to ensure the laws are fair and the laws are just, and then these laws that are enforced by the executive as well, and and then the judiciary, that once the laws are developed and then developed by the legislature, enforced by the executive, and then judiciary will ensure the laws are enforced as well. And that means that to ensure the enforcement, there are also principles of judiciary as well as the standards of justice as well. So when we carry out public judiciary system, it is important to have independent public hearings, and that means that it is, when we say independent judiciary, that as well so if we have we have to follow the one person or one group order, then there is no independent judiciary as well. That the judge has a right to be able to have the right to adjudicate and right to make the judgment according to the case, according to the law. And then when we say just independent judiciary, that means that we also need to think about the discretion, or that the ability of the judges to be able to think think through a case and hear a case and decide a case. So we need to make sure that the judges or the justice, or they need to be free from corruption. They should be appointed based on their qualifications. When we say qualifications, is that the judges understand very well about the system, about the principles and standards of a judiciary, and that they enshrine that the truth, and they are looking to establish the truth. These values, these qualifications are important for a judge to have. Only those judges which have these values of independent judiciary, only when they educate, that they can give justice to our society. That when we say that we must give justice to the society, then there is a question: why should we give justice to the society? As I have stated earlier, all the people are born with equal human dignity. We are all equals. If that we are all equals, that means that we also have the equal. We also have access to the equal legal rights. That we have the legal protection. That means, according to the UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, legal life also has been described as well. That each and every one of them is considered equal in front of the law. That in front of the law, we are all the same. We all have their legal rights. That is, as they say, no one is above the law. Everyone is equal in front of the law, and that's the basic standard of judiciary as well. Each and every one of us is equal in front of the law for all the people of all the citizens. Doesn't matter who they are or whether they have the right to recourse to the law, and they also have the right to seek justice as well. So Myanmar, that Myanmar issue the warrant under the Section 505 for the CDMRs, that we need to think about it. Myanmar and the military is that they are committing crimes, many crimes against the people of Myanmar, and then you can ask them why there are no charged against Myanmar. If we think about that, although Myanmar is they're starting many cases, is that also resonates whether that there is a justice in Myanmar. That in Myanmar if there is will answer the question that whether we have justice in Myanmar is something we don't need to think hard. Even a child can answer this question. In a society, people are from different diverse groups. People live differently. People also have speak different languages. They live differently, and that despite their differences, I think that even though despite the differences, there are laws to provide the legal protection to the people so that they will not be subjected to that oppression or any form of suppression violence as well. Because legal protection comes from there is a independent judiciary system that guarantees people legal rights. When you say justice, that justice can be in different many approaches or many different forms. That what we want is when we are harmed, when we have when we are injured, that we want justice. But when we are trying to get justice, we also want deterrent legal punishment against the perpetrators, and for the victims, there should also be reparation or the compensation for the victims of such crimes as well. Reparations can be done in different ways. It could be resettlement, it could be rehabilitation. All this nature must be part of the justice system as well. The perpetrators must be punished with punished for the crimes they have committed, and then we also need to give reparations to the victims in a fair and balanced manner. The issues that Myanmar is facing now is something we are all familiar with. We have seen arbitrary arrests, arbitrary killings, extrajudicial killings, where people are being tortured in the interrogation center. Interrogation centers are like places where they have license to kill. They are licensed to torture. They are killing people. The military is burning down villages. They are killing our civilians. They are bombarding. They are bombing schools where the innocent children are, that learning, and these all the crimes that you can ask, what about the judges in the Myanmar former judiciary system? That the judges are not aware of their crimes. Can they not give justice to the people of Myanmar? It's because the judiciary system in Myanmar, because it is happening because judiciary Myanmar cannot give justice to the people in the current situation. That's how I would like to answer to your question in the first round. Thank you. Thank you, Siama, for answering the question. And that you also have given us a lot to think about the judiciary as well. So you talk about that laws are to provide legal protection, to protect people from discrimination, to have the justice is important. That it is important to also to have standards to ensure the judiciary is independent. that only when we need to also have the justice, not only that justice is important, but also independent judiciary is highlighted as important as well. Another point you also have raised is that all the human beings have entitled to their legal rights. It is important to legal rights, and that no one is above the law. So thank you for the points that you have made. And there you also said that justice is important in every corner of the society. Thank you for your answers. Now, I will also be following up some points with the next round as well. Now, I would like to invite Kaung to win. Kaung to win. Good evening. So now we are the Spring Revolution is at a certain point in this revolutionary journey, and of course there are some problems that come up as well. There are also that there could be problems and issues between different armed groups and that organization, and that so there are also that we have also seen that there are also people who have been killed. There are also people who have been accused of military informant or spies that who have been killed as well. Organizations are also there are going to be frictions. So it is important to ensure justice among the armed organization as well, so that what kind of military justice systems are there? Can you answer?
ပထမဆုံးပြောချင်တာတော့ဒါတော့ကျွန်တော်ဖြတ်တန်းခဲ့ရတဲ့အခြေအနေနဲ့ကျွန်တော်ကြုံတွေ့ရကြားပြရတဲ့အမြင်တွေကိုဒါကျွန်တော်အနေနဲ့ပဲဒါပြောကြားသွားမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဟုတ်ကဲ့အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အခုဒီတော်လန်ရေးပေါ့နော်ဒါအချိန်တစ်ခုရောက်လာတဲ့အချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်တို့အဓိကတွေ့ရတာတော့ဒီတရှုတလန်ဆိုတဲ့စကားလုံးပေါ့နော်ဒီစကားလုံးကဒါဒီတတော်ကိုဒါကြောက်ဖို့ကောင်းတဲ့စကားလုံးပေါ့နော်ဒီပြစ်မှုတစ်ခုခုပေါ့နော်ဒီတရှုကိစ္စမဟုတ်ဘဲနဲ့အခြားသောပြစ်မှုတွေမှာလည်းဒီလိုနာမည်ကိုတက်လိုက်ရင်ဒီလိုကိုကြိုက်တယ်လို့စီလင်လို့ရတယ်ဆိုတဲ့ပုံစံမျိုးဖြစ်နေတာပေါ့နော်အခုချိန်မှာဒါတော်လန်ရေးအင်အားစုတွေတော်တော်များများမှာဆိုရင်လည်းဒါပေါ့နော်ဒီလိုမျိုးစကားလုံးပေါ့နော်ဒါဒီလူကတရှိုးဒီလူကတလန်ဆိုပြီးတော့တယောက်နဲ့တယောက်အဲ့လိုဆွဆွဲပြောဆိုမှုတွေဒါတွေကိုတွေ့ရတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီဂျန်နက်ကိုင်ဖွဲ့ချင်းပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်အဖွဲ့တွင်းချင်းမှာပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီအခြားသောပေါ့နော်အခြေအနေပြဿနာတွေရှိရင်တော့ဒီလူကိုပေါ့နော်ပြည်သူပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီလူကိုဒါတလန်လို့ခေါင်းစဉ်တက်လိုက်ရင်
and if they are saying and then the word the land is this is kind of like quite scary, and therefore in order not to make this happen and like if it is related to money, if it is related to weapons or ammunitions, and if it is kind of like related to personal issues as well, and it is very it should be in this title. If it should not be like the spy or informant title. So this kind of things are happening right now, and in ethnic armed forces, what happens like in order to have correct justice system, it is very important. So who are the under change of command of which like this armed forces are they local PDF or what are they? So we need to know very well about this, and then where they are, and then what are the rules and regulations among them, like what kind of rules and laws if they are violating, and to what extent they can be sanctioned. This kind of things they have to be abide with. And if something happen, if somebody commit some kind of crimes, then like it can be accepted. If there is like crime are there, and the accusation, the charges. So if you have this kind of like killing or committing crime, it cannot be done like this. It has to be investigated well, and then like this kind of news information, it is not just only the evidences and the witnesses should not be one-sided. And then only after this, and because this kind of crime possible or not possible, then we have to do this. And there should also be transparencies within the organizations. And then in some instances, through news media, the people should be kind of like declare about this. So only then they should have this kind of justice system, and only then it will be a transparent one. And there should also be some judiciary personnel, and then they should also be accountable and professional and competent on the issues. If the cases are taken into like human rights standard need to be complied with, and then any human beings, because like kind of like health standard or any kind of standard should be complied with as well. And then is even if there is like the kind of like death penalties, then there should also be kind of like appeal processes. Only then, if the judiciary is kind of like there should be a medium or group. So there should be kind of like higher authority, and then there should be this person is there, and then if it is kind of like near, like there should be like the arm's length issues in this organization. Thank you very much. And then in either military or civil issues, it has to be fair and transparent. And then when we were inside the army, when the court martials are being studied or we have studied about this. And then when Myanmar courts are, and then in the Western court martial, if something happened, for example, in the infantry, so in the military judiciary department, they have to handle, and then there is like accused, and then there is also plaintiff, defendant, and then they have to talk, and they need to kind of like apply like enough evidences. And then when it comes to the national security issues, and except from the national security issues, then everything is public, and then defense is very important as well. Only then we'll be able to get justice. And then right now with Myanmar's army issues, some of the cases cases needs to be built up well. And you cannot do this in this Myanmar's courts. And then even with the witness testimonies are noted down, so it is kind of like not heard. So what I would like to say is that when it is very important. So thank you very much for saying this. Like, this is also very important in this. Let me invite Siamanesi and in this judiciary system, transparent hearings are important. And then within this revolution period, so in order to implement good judiciary system, what do we need to prepare for? And then in similar cases, the accused or the like the defendants, like this kind of thing, in order to have the just and then transparent system. Why it is so important? Can you please share your experience as well? So the first questions, why it is important, and then so it's very clear in order to get justice, in order to have just, so the victims, the survivor, or the accused, whoever sides, if we looked at it, and then when we talked about judiciary system, it has to be heard in public, it has to be transparent, and then it has to comply with the rules and regulations, whether they are incorrect or not. In order to know about this, we cannot just do it closed doors and we cannot know about this. So when we talked about judiciary system, according to UDHR, and then in according to international standards, what we are saying is talking about transparency. Transparency, from the side of the accused, what kind of things he is accused of, and then like there should also be investigations as well. When a crime happens, whatever crime it is, whoever the perpetrator is, if they have to be, when they are in front of the judge, they have the right to defend themselves. Whether you commit this or not, then you have the right to defend yourself systematically according to the law before the court. And then only then what was the truth, and then how it was committed, whether it has been committed really or not, but then who is the one who is given pressure, this kind of things. And then so who and what is the thing that has been suffer, to what extent they have suffered for this, and then only only in front of the court that is fair, then and the perpetrator needs to be given correct sentences. And then so if it is like when we talked about judiciary system, and then it has to be independent, it has to at the same time it has to be transparent as well. We are talking about it all the time because whether in this revolution, what we talked about, result is important. In order to reach our result is important. In order to reach there, then we cannot go through easy ways, and it is true the result is correct, but then we have to go according to the standard, and judiciary system is like that. There could be problems amongst people, among the armed groups, and then in order to have justice, it is not important to kind of like adjudicate this case swiftly. What is the truth is important. We need to understand this, and therefore we have to go according to the procedures. We have to go according to the rules and regulations, and then the sanction has to make accordingly. And in order to do this, we are talking about justice. And then what are being accused of behind door, and then it has been decided one-sided. So we have to be very open. We have to be transparent, and then this is very important and transparent. Why transparency is needed? So in order to have justice, and then we are talking about transparent, and then it has to be. And then within this revolution period, what do we do? And then this is like the revolution period, and then NUG government, they are also implementing this, and there are also weaknesses could be. And then what can do right now is that, like we have heard about this So some of the revolution forces, they are not in line with the standards, and then they kind of like also torture the people. So we need to do investigation to that, and then there should be like procedures and rules and regulations. So the revolution government needs to make effort to do this, and then at least there is no rules of like if there is no rules, and then we need to document what is happening, and then who commit, like Sakasa or whoever commit these crimes. If your human rights are being violated, if your assistance, and then if you are being tortured, then you there should be mechanism to kind of like report to the revolution government. And then in this revolution period, some issues can be very difficult to, and after the revolution, we need to have good judiciary referral. And then in our times, it has been so many years that we didn't have like the judiciary justice from our judiciary system. And right now, it could not be like that. Human rights based, and then a citizen should have the rights and the just before the court. They should be able to get this. And therefore, we need to have just an independent judiciary system, and then we need to be well prepared for this. When we are talking about judiciary independent, we have seen two parts. One is resources, judges and lawyers, and then the courts, like the structures, and then the composition of them. So they need to respect human rights. Therefore, example, fair trial rights, then these things. So it is like always targeting the laws and then justice. So we need people, judges, lawyers, and then a court that is enabling, inclusive, even for the person with disabilities, like access. In order to have access to justice, we need to create that. And then on the other hand, we need to think about the laws. Like Siama talked about it, like the laws are not fair. We have come back from like draconian era, and then so there has been laws that are no longer updated and very obsolete, and then these laws are not relevant to today's era, and then these laws are not what we want, and then there in the penal code there are a lot of this kind of provision. In this provision, the parliament needs to enact these laws, and then only when these laws are there, so when we talked about the laws, and then the capacity of the judges, composition of the law, division of power, these kind of things needs to be considered very carefully. And if we can do the judicial reform well, and then independent and just judiciary system, like we will have these kind of things. And therefore, another question is that whether accused or the plaintiff, why it is important. Either the person who is accusing or the accused, like the person is like, if you are accused that you are being committed, then like they cannot be assumed as the the accused. It's not, he's not guilty. So the accused has the right as well. And then the plaintiff also has the rights. These rights has to be balanced for both sides. These are not difficult things. We are talking about it all the time. Like in order to have transparent judiciary system, the accused needs to understand what they are being accused of, and then the accused has to be so refrain from being tortured, and then they have also the appeal rights. Only then like the investigation processes needs to be systematic, and then there is always no bias, and then no pressure. The person who has money, the person who has power, not pressuring this process. And so in order to have this, we need to have this kind of investigation and kind of like comply with this. So and then right now, like we cannot forget about like the international standard, and then in our judiciary system also, it is not just on paper, and we have to do this as well. It is very important, and then I just wanted to talk about it. Thank you very much. Thank you for this. So like in the judiciary system, it cannot be closed door, and in whatever situation, the accused also has the right to defend themselves, and then like there shouldn't be any pressure, there shouldn't be any people who is controlling this. It is very important, and the judiciary system has to be independent. And then thank you very much for highlighting this. And during the revolution period, like the revolution government needs to do this and that. Siama discussed about this as well. And then the investigation, whatever it is, while the investigations are being carried out, it has to be in line with the judiciary system. Thank you very much. And then today we have NUG Justice Minister Utay U, and then so we would like to ask you some question as well. Sia Mingla ba? Sia Utay U Mingla ba?
Okay.
I hope you are doing well. Yes, I am good. And so thank you very much for attending this. And we would like to also ask you some questions on your opinion, and then you have also heard the speakers who have also shared their opinions, and then talked about what NUG should be doing as well. Right now as NUG in the judiciary system, in order to have more transparency, what are the efforts being made by your government? Right now, there are some challenges we do understand. With these challenges, among these challenges, what the NUG government has to do in different fronts. We have heard about this. And then when there are cases like this, when like local people are committing or being committed, and there are any crime that are being reported, we have heard about this as well. And then with regards to the NUG government, what are you doing? And then in the legal issues and judiciary issues, what is the situation there? And we would like to have heard about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for asking the questions. I would like to. I've been listening to the discussion points made by the panelists, like Sister Sue as well as Nancy and Kaung, and thank you for on behalf of the people. Under the National Unity Government, we have Ministry of Justice, and the motto of the Ministry of Justice is "No justice, no peace," because without justice there will not be peace, and that's the motto that we stand by and which we walk as well. That we have 6 departments under the Ministry of Justice, so there are also departments which are relevant to judiciary. We also have a department on the transitional justice as well, because because the courts and that former judiciary system is only the only way for that legal justice. We also need social justice as well, but to get perfect justice can be very difficult. Let's say a person has been killed by mistake, like Kaung has said. Maybe a person has been accused easily of a military intelligence or the land, and he was killed. But he need not only legal justice, he needs also social justice. But even with the social justice or the legal justice, there is no perfect justice for him. He has lost his life. So when we talk about justice, it's important. In justice, we have that distributed justice and qualitative justice. What does it mean by the distributed justice? As Dr. Su has explained in our earlier contribution, that it is important to have just laws that are fair for the people. Rule of law is the actual, in fact, that means that there is a rule of fair law or the just laws. That's why we have two expressions in justice: rule of law and law and order. When we say law and order, that when an law has been enacted by the state, that it is mandatory. Everybody must comply with it, and that's when we call it we don't call it rule of law. We call it law and order. That means the laws are there, you must follow them as well. But under the military regime, although whenever they whenever they translate the word rule of law into Burmese, they always interpret it or translate it as the law and order. So it doesn't matter if the state enacts laws which are not fair or which are not just, then people must follow them blindly. So it is in fact wrong from the perspective of the rule of law, because later the Su has said rule of law means that there are just laws and that people follow the just law. That's what mean by this fall under the qualitative justice, that it is important for the country to under the law, and if there are violations of these laws, then it is important to take action against the perpetrator. That we call it the correctional or corrective justice, to correct what is wrong as well. That's why in some of the democratic countries, they don't call it the prison. They don't use the prison, or they don't say the prison department. They call it correction or correctional service. They use Department of Correction. That means that they are trying to correct what went wrong. Once an inmate has served his sentence, then he has corrected the mistake he have done. He should be reintegrated into the society. So that's why that correction department also falls under the Ministry of Justice, and that is, I think, what that is, that department is built with house for the future. One is transitional justice. Second is Department of Corrections. They are part of our ministry. Why? Because while we are trying to achieve justice, is very important. When we talk about justice, under the topic we talk about independent. We will focus about the independent judiciary. But when we are looking for justice, there are two places which are important. One is fair trial, as Manesi have explained. Fair trial is important. The concept of fair trial is the trial must be fair for everyone involved. That when a person has been accused of perpetrating a crime, and that whether this person, until the person is found guilty, the courts are there to have a hearing to hear if the person is guilty or not. Then we can put the court into three parts: pre-trial, the trial, and the post-trial. Pre-trial is before the case reach the court. There must be justice during the pre-trial period. Even in the pre-trial stage, the accused should have justice as well. That pre-trial means that the accused is within the hands of the law enforcement agencies, that is police. Even then, he should have access to justice. And a person who has been accused of cannot be tortured. That he must explain that these are the legal charges. What are the possible implications of these charges, and that they must not be there. So that then he will be taken. That he must be given right to communicate with his lawyers or his families. He need to be treated humanely while we are being detained as well. That's justice during the pre-trial stage before a person reach the court. That's why during the remanding process, the judges have to be careful, how that Now, that's the case. You have to look at the case. If the case is sound, if the case is not, not sound, or the case that's saying that grounds that the person might be issued a bail during the remand process as well. Then when these accused arrived at the court, there must be during the trial stage. We also have to issue a justice. The judges will have to hear both sides and that the arguments as well as all the kind of arguments. Then to make a judgment. After that, after the post trial message judgment as you make, there also will be other processes for the but the person, even if he's found guilty, he has the right to appeal as well as on the sentences might be ensured in it as well. So there must be justice in all three levels of the justice system, and that's what our Ministry of Justice is focusing on right now. In Sakai region and Macquarie region, we have established 25 township codes. We are hearing cases. And then while we are hearing the cases, it is based on these three justice at three levels: pre-trial, trial, and the post-trial. Another point here I would like to raise is that the example that Captain Kaung has given, when a person has been accused of that being a military spy or the informant in the land, and then this person was killed, then that is what we call extrajudicial killing. That is killing beyond the boundaries of justice system. We are establishing the code so that we'll be able to reduce such kind of killings. If possible, is to stop them happening. But during the revolution, it can be very difficult as well to reduce the numbers of such extrajudicial killings as well. That when there are people who inform that you have that military hunter coming into the village, and then they would accuse the people of being PDFs and then killing them. That is, it is important to protect the lives of the people. But these people who who bring in the military, they must be. They also have the rights as well. It is important to look at the rights not only of the victims or who suffer from the crime, but also of the accused as well. If there are those who bring in that military hunter, who will conduct raids into the villages and of course burn down the villages. There are people who point fingers at the local community as the members of the PDF. These are military spies or the informants. They are committing crime, and they must be given that they are the deterrent management. But we cannot accuse everyone of being military informants or the lands as well. Like we say in the medical war, prevention is better than cure. So in the same way, by establishing the codes in the different parts of Myanmar, is to prevent, if possible, extrajudicial killing and to reduce as many as possible. That's the purpose in having a judicial system. When we have a judicial system, when you have a code, and a person that has been accused of will be brought to court, and then the accused will be able to have the right to defend himself as well. So if he is found guilty, then we can use the criminal justice system to sentence him with the appropriate sentences as well. And that's so we are assuring based on this concept of justice to ensure that the accused have the pre-trial rights, and they also have the right of defense during the trial, and even after that they have been convicted and found guilty and convicted. Then in the post-trial, under our Department of Correction, that the person is put into incarceration due to the crime they had committed, that they should not be treated differently for others, and that the imprisonment doesn't mean that imprisonment is for a crime that they had committed, and that it's not like sending a person into prison. Like it's like the expression goes: do we live to eat or eat to live? So it is important to ensure that we send somebody to and we are incarcerated someone to in a way to pay for the mistake that he had done. So when we talk about independent judiciary and independent, then there is also there are two concepts: external independence and internal independence. that wanted to have a transparent and independent judiciary, it is also important to be free from the independence. To ensure external independence must be free from the executive or from the legislature, this judiciary must be free from other external actors as well. Internal independence is to have the capacity that our judges and prosecutors must have for the capacity. They must be free from nepotism and the different forms of corruption that by the fear, or it is by greed or other forms of the bribes and the different forms of corruption as well. They must be free from fear. They must be free from corruption as well. So what we are doing now is we are meeting every Saturday 2 times a month to all the judges who are serving in these 25 courts. And then we have the CDM judges. We also have the CDM prosecutors, and we also have the CDM we also have a CDM senior lawyers as well. That we also have academic from the law department, so they are there to check the quality and the performance of our judges as well. This is my short answer to the points that have been raised. I'm trying to keep it short to the point because it has been incredible to listen to our other panelists. What I would say is it's important to do legal reforms. We need also judicial reforms. Not only the judicial reform, we also need to do legal reform to ensure that the laws are fair for all the parties. That if the laws are not fair, if the laws are not just, then if we are using such a unjust law, then we'll be just sentencing by we'll be hearing the cases by that, and will not have a independent or fair trial as well. And also we also need to do a social reform. In addition to the legal reform, we also need social reform. That it is important to have democratic institutions that are in line with the democratic standards. For instance, like National Human Rights Commissions and HRC, we need to establish NHRC. We also need to have an anti-corruption commission, that commission to fight corruption. These commissions will need to ensure that they serve as a check and balance of the judiciary system. These are also important to ensure, as a moderator our moderator have explained, they are also important. They are also important in the transitional justice as well to ensure justice for all. So that's all I would like to contribute to the view, because I'm trying to answer the question as well. That this is what I would like to answer to your question, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming in and sharing us. Thank you very much indeed. And there's also a lot to learn as well. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much on behalf of the people and on behalf of the People's Court team. Thank you very much for coming in to share. That if you still have time, we would like to come back to you in the next round as well. So before we start, we also have received a few questions. One question, the same question as well. The one question is that if there is a need for justice for cases that took place among the local BDF forces, how does Ministry of Justice of NUG intervene? If somebody needs to file a case at the MOG, what is the MOG process? I think the answer has been given by the Xiao Dayu. If we have the time, that later I will also ask you. I will also give a chance to ask the question as well. I know to ask the things to answer the question as well. So I also like to invite other who are following our talk show on the live streams or at the Zoom. If you're in the Zoom, you can raise your hand to ask questions, and we'll invite you as well. You can also write down your questions or comments in the chat box as well. So please use the Q&A and the comment section to ask a question or share comments. So let's go into the second round of the discussion. I would like to start the second round again with Dr. Su. So the ultimate goal of the Spring Revolution is very simple. We want to build a federal democracy union, and then we want to eradicate the military dictatorship, and then and also that we wanted to be. So in the federal democratic constitution that we are all hoping for, that that Myanmar that with the Myanmar has been that they have been violating the human rights. They are also enacting unjust law. They are using the law as a way to exploit and bully and oppress the people. So in the future federal union that we have, in the future federal constitution, how do we ensure the fundamental rights, which will protect the every individual rights of the every citizen, and to ensure an independent and impartial judicial system? What kind of preparations do we need to do? Siama, please go ahead.
The question is very good, and therefore, thank you very much for these questions. And in this Spring Revolution, so we have our vision and mission that like our generations are like kind of like trying to have a federal democracy, and this is our like vision and mission. We are a diverse country, a country with lots of diversity, and then it has to embrace the diversities. We have lots of dialects, we have different cultures and traditions, and then hundreds of ethnicities are there, and then our environments are right now in their places, or they are there in. So according to the environment, according to the people, we are a diverse country. And then so for decades, like the country is being controlled by dictators, and our ethnic cities do not have independence, do not get developments, do not have equal rights and opportunities. And then there were such time, and there are a lot of issues like this, and there are also violences, and our people have suffered a lot of these. With these differences, there were poverty, there were no development, and we have also experienced this as well in this revolution. So we have to have like equal opportunities, equal rights, and we all want democracy. And this is our common goals. And then when we are talking about democracies, we are talking about we have to ensure the fundamental rights of everyone. Only we need to have laws and protection that ensure the fundamental rights. Only then we will have rules of law, we will be able to access justice. And then when we talked about justice, Nancy we're talking about as well, and then we should be able to do these activities, and then like the accused and the plaintiff, they have their fundamental rights, and then they need to have the right to information and right to defend themselves, and then and then we need to ensure human rights standards are there, and then we have like constitutional rights, and then there should also be a judiciary system with the constitutional rights. And then last time we talked about like the judiciary system and then practices as well. So everyone has equality before the court before the law, and then we all human being needs to have fair trial rights. And then we talked about this in the UDHR as well as in the ICCPR as well. And then in this judiciary system, there shouldn't be delay in that, and that it has to be heard publicly in the open court as well. Right now in the SAC, their judiciary system is that it is inside the prison, and then the decision were made there, and then the police like kind of like are doing beyond what they should be doing, and then there is no witnesses, and then like the decision has been made. Freedom of expression, freedom of assemblies are also being violated, and then like because of being in the political dialogues, and because of like everybody, like students are being arrested and imprisoned. These are like beyond the beyond the law, and then so we need to have the laws. The judiciary system needs to be just, and so if I have to talk about so what is the Bill of Rights, it has to be ensured there, and then the judges and then the judiciary system cannot be influenced, and they have to be independent. And then we talked about it earlier. Yeah, Uday also talked about it earlier. And then the judges, so they have to be free and fair and refrain themselves from any corruptions and bribery. And then who appointed the judge, and then like who appointed the judge, and if they have this perception that they are kind of indebted to those who appointed them, and they will not be fair, so they need to be and then when we are going to the federal democracy state, the most important thing what I would like to say is that, like I said earlier, in our country has a lot of diversities, and then according to the environment and our natural resources and the beauties of different places are not the same. We understand that, and then our people have different dialects, and they have a life being because of that, and where they are living, when the judiciary system needs to like they have to be kind of like have language justice issues, and then they need to be able to assess this. And then when building the federal democracy, we need to have this kind of basic things in place. In the previous decades, so our professors, when people are there, we like they have never heard about this. They have not learned about the law, and then only after 2000 they have the opportunities to learn. But what I have seen is that when they are in the court, like the different ethnic minorities, they have problems. So it is very rare that they do not go to the court, but then there are people, so there are cases. But the thing is that because of the problems, and then so those who are speaking Burmese languages, and then the trust issue, they do not trust people who are implementing it. So it is very sad, and in a federal democracy, like these kind of issues needs to be protected, and this needs to be thought about. And our country in traditional court, we always rely on the court, and then like there are cases, there are a lot of delays, and then according to international standard, it has to be no delay, because the courts, like thousands of them are there, because it is just the traditional court, kind of like being relied on internationally. There has been the administrative court, and then for example, immigration offices, you can kind of like report the corruption. These kind of courts are there. In education, like there is is corruption, and then you can go to like this kind of corruption. In our country, we do not have this kind of things. And then in a federal democracy, if we are going there, like we need to have the legal pluralism. And then when we go to the federalism, at least the government will be there for two level, like federal and the state. And then like the lowest level is that it has to be like kind of like village track level. Sometimes even there should be kind of like opportunities, kind of like delegated, like if like the village leader can kind of like ask for meeting, and then the decisions has to be made. It has to be in the mechanism, legal justice mechanism like this. So if you use the legal justice plural mechanism, and those who are in part of it, and then they need to understand these basic things, and then they should also love democracy and human rights. And then we should start training these people from now on. And then we need to give training, and then when we are building a federal state, we need to think about the inclusiveness. Like I said earlier, like everyone needs to have access to justice. Everyone has equal rights before the law. Only everyone has access, then they should get like equality. Then, so when we are building the federal state, we have to use the legal pluralism. And then after this revolution, in the transition period, those who have committed the perpetrator needs to be sanctioned as well. In order to sanction this perpetrator, and then the cases will be less and less, and when these cases are less and less, and it will later disappear. Right now, for many years, there has not been sanctions on these people. There is a practice of impunity there, and then these people kind of like getting like license, and they have committed. If they are given, if they are not given any sanctions, then they will continue to commit it, and they are doing it systematically. So they can think of like what we can do. So these people have this kind of mindset. And then in the transitional period, so
we all need
to cooperate together. So our people needs to kind of like needs the justice, like we are thirsty, and then only then we have to be working. And then according to international standards, they also talked about it, justice is peace. And then this is like what I would like to reiterate as well. We have Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 2030 goals. So we have like 17 goals, and then 16 is about peace, justice, and strong institution. And then in the whole world, only there is like justice, then there will be peace. So if we cannot get peace and then justice, then people are not happy. I have suffered like this. I didn't get justice. And then if they have this kind of things, and they will continue to commit crimes, this kind of things, as so we need justice. And when we go to transition, so we need to start working from now on. What we need to think is that 3 things here, and there are things the SAC is like committing. So these things, we need to have justice, and how are we going to do this? We need to think about that. And then secondly, right now, so like the informant spy issues, and then we have all these issues, so many things happening, and so the NUG, the judiciary ministry needs to ensure about it. Our people needs to be peacefully working on, and we need to work hard on that, fighting the SAC. And on the other side, there might be people who are committing crimes like this, and then our people are very pitiful, and therefore we need to have, even if it's not traditional justice, how it can be created, and then how do we do this? The justice ministry needs to kind of like ensure this, and I would like to request that. And then lastly, we need to respect and fulfill our people. Like we need to respect the people, and then the law, the standards needs to be complied with, and then please love the people. And then so we need to bring up also those young people who who will do this in the future, and then we need to bring up these people. And so I would like to say that. And then lastly, what I would like to say is that in order to get justice, everybody, so we have to have our motto in our national anthem. So I would like to say this, and then like our justice will be brought later. And thanks a lot. Thank you for talking about this. So we need to be thirsty about the justice, and then thank you very much. And in order to build up a just society, we believe that we are working towards it, putting all our efforts in this revolution. And then I would like to invite Kaung to win once again. Kaung to win right now in the revolution here, in the frontline revolution, and then a city captain has been accused as a SAC spy and as an informant. And then this captain has already been to the sides of the people, and then soldier. He is now being accused of this, and then he did not have any protection of law, and then he did not go through the transparent justice system. And then right now, people are asking NUG and KIA in order to kind of like go as an interim, and therefore like these kind of things, we talked about it as well. The accused cannot be tortured. The accused cannot be, they have the right to lawyers, and then they have the right to defend, and so it cannot be delayed as well. So Dr. Su talked about, Xiao Deng who talked about it, and in this case, in order to get the right justice, protection of the law, and defend the right to defend, then can you please highlight something there? Yeah.
ဒါကတော့လက်ရှိ hot ဖြစ်နေတဲ့ case ကိုလို့เนาะဒါလက်ရှိ hot ဖြစ်နေလို့ဒါဒီ CDN
Okay, thank you for the question. This is it's a very hot case right now. This has been it's going viral on the media and also among the resistant forces as well. There has been a similar cases before like that as about the CDM soldier being accused of informer, and there's such case that this is not new. There has been cases before, and that's something we have to be aware about, because when the CDM soldiers, they started to when they try continue to serve, and compared to the LDF or PDF or EROs, there are always suspicions against them as well. And that although they have joined this side and they are also serving in that revolutionary forces, there are suspicions. Even if you're talking with your old friends or your own friends, or there could be maybe also be talking with the former comrade as well. This is something that is natural that can happen, but looking at such looking at for such acts with suspicion, or accusing him or for accusing them of being a spy for the military hunter, this is something I think that could be very common. But in this particular case, the case that you have mentioned is something quite public now, and that the CDM captain and that the men under his command has said that also are demanding his release, and then others also are accusing of the crimes of this well. So rather than what happened, I think it is important to look into why this has happened. In addition, that why why he has been because why he has been accused of as a military informant. If it is a real military informant, if he are infiltrating for the military, this is not a problem. But if he is being accused of that informant, it could be more implications and more danger for him. They could be able to they will be in a position to do whatever they want as well. So this will put him more at risk as well. So I don't know this person. I don't know the captain, the CDM captain. I don't know him in person. I'm not in contact with him. But as a CDM soldier, as a soldier who has joined the people embrace, who have joined the side, that we want to support them. We want to help them as well. We want to ask for his rights as well. This is something we need to do as a fellow CDM soldier. When a soldier joined the CDM movement, and when the soldiers differed and they joined the CDM movement, then they could be under the under the MOD, they could be under will receive the CDM code issued by the NUG. That means that these codes are to help protect the CDM soldiers, and that NUG and the MOD has a responsibility, because these are the CDMers. They issue them a code as a CDM, that if they want to serve as a PDF or not. The fact that we have this CDM soldier has defective and they have a CDM code, they have the right to protection from the NUG and the MOD. And the CDM captain has been arrested, and only when we know about the case, then he has been when we only learn about when people start to talk about it, it is important when the case is becoming public. It is important to provide assistance as well, and that according to the current situation, I think he is in a KIA for his liberated area, KIA area, and then there are also some of the KIA also have submitted letters, I think, to him as well. I think it is for KIA to look into the case and see what is happening, and to, in a way, to make sure that and manage that situation does not, go too far, too quickly. That even when, especially, it is, I think, that we hope that after this there has been a more of a media coverage, that we hope that things will not happen. We also don't want him to be, get rid of the evidence or get rid of the case. We don't want to be, hidden, and then everything went wrong, and we don't want that to happen, because I think we also have raised the issue to the energy government. So we hope the energy government also respond quickly to that as well, and that if the case will be hard again, it is important to ensure the case has the open trial, or the case is transparent as well. That if you look at the current situation, he will need to have the unit, there should be in the hearing, there should be the energy, there should be the KIA, he should also have the right to defend as well. His unit has arrested him, and then they could also make him give the answer they want. They will interrogate him, they will use that probing question, and they will ask leading questions to get the answers they want, and then and that kind of thing could happen as well. That rather than that, I think it is also important to ensure has a formal military tribunal, and then to military to hear the case as well. I think that there are also allegations from one side to the other about this case. We need to check whether we don't know who is right or who is wrong. It is important to have a military tribunal to hear all the allegations, to be able to investigate and find out what really happened as well. I think it is also important to explain what is being happening as well. Some of the cases might also need to be made public. Some of the, at least that I think, and also that it is also important to that there are also some efforts to make the case viral. I think it is important to help this fellow CDM soldier to be able to establish what really happened, or what is truth. It is about protect him to be able with justice as well, because in a justice system, to ensure rule of law, justice, and impartiality, it is important to have openness as well as the transparency to get credibility from the people. Because as a CDM soldier, that he also deserves to have. There are ways to address violations of the law, or that unjust actions, that we need to rely on the justice system and the just laws to take action as well. And that it is also important to make sure that the justice judicial process are very clear, how he has been accused of, what charges are there, what are the allegations, and how the case has been addressed. Everything must be clarified and clear as well. Thank you, Kaung, to win and also so thank you for the point, and then for the recommendation as well. To summarize the discussion, summarize the point that you have raised, that when you have a case, when there are allegations, it is important to have to ensure there is an open code, or the open trial system, open to investigation, open trial. It is also important for the accused to have the right to defend itself, right to legal counsel, right to right to be able to defend themselves, to have access to the legal expertise, to also have the right to do a fair trial as well. So he is to be able to defend himself and to ensure that justice system, because it is only then there will be justice for both parties. So I think it is important to have an open open court as well as the justice system, and that Kaung also explained that he is a CDM. The person that has been accused of the military espionage is a CDM soldier, is a captain who has joined the people's who have joined the people's side in this revolution. So people's Go team also has also have has been trying to help with them. He has given recommendations, so that I think is important. We also hope that national unity government will also intervene to ensure there is justice for this for the sitting captain. Now, I would like to invite another panelist, Hnin. Siama, good evening once again. And I would like to ask, what I would like to ask is that beyond the revolution, that right now, that in the revolution, it will be very important to ensure there is justice as well as a reparation for the victims of the violations of their rights during the revolution as well. So how do we transitional justice? When we talk about transitional justice, how important transitional justice is for the stability beyond the conflict? Like the motto of the emoji goes, no justice, no peace. Why is transitional justice important for stability? And then how much is it needed for the stability beyond the conflict period? Transitional justice. When we say transitional justice, the terminology that I think we need to explain what do we mean by transitional justice. So when we say transitional justice, is that when a political system change from one system to another, for example, like we change from a dictatorship to a democracy, that's a system change. When a system change, then that's once one system change from another is called a transition. That means that now we are under authoritarian regime. We are revolutionary period under the military dictators, and then these dictators, this authoritarian regime, will kill people. They will force people to leave their homes, and they will evict them, and they will get rid of the evidence. They will commit many forms of human rights violations, and the human rights violation, as they're saying, the way the military has been committing and killing the people of Myanmar and committing various forms of human rights violations. These are the challenges we are facing on a daily basis, and these human rights violations, what people are suffering from on a daily basis. So it is important to have transitional justice, because after the system has been changed, we need to find justice for the people, for the violations they suffer during the revolution. So that's what we mean by transitional justice. So, or in short, TJ, transitional justice needed when we have changed the system when we were able to bring an end to the authoritarian regime, and when we have a democracy, we need transitional justice. As I've said before, that people have suffered from injustice, people suffer from violence, people suffer from violations of their rights, and then if those perpetrators remain, untouched, and they remain, without being paid anything for the crimes that they have committed, then the victims will not find closure, will not find the psychologically, they will find the content as well. So if they will go back to those perpetrators, if they are going back to the community, they stay as if nothing has happened. That means they get impunity. No, we cannot let impunity continue. When the system change from one another, all the human violations during under the authoritarian regime must be, for the other perpetrator must be punished to give justice as well. Like people are on the run from the we are on the run, that people have been arrested, people have been killed during the interrogation center. A lot of people have been maimed. They lost their physical ability or their mobility. They suffer because of the killings of the military hunter, of the interrogation, of the torture as well. And that and as well as there are also those who are serving under the military hunter, those who follow the orders of the military hunter. They are committing such crime, and these people who are committing such crime and violations, they cannot continue as they are after the transition after the system happened, and that means that we will not be able to have social justice, because people will not be happy to have them in their communities. And then those who perpetrate their crimes, they say that now that we have power, we can do whatever we want, and now that we don't have power, even if the system may change, nobody can touch us. No, we cannot let that they enjoy impunity. So that when we say transitional justice, there are two parts to this. First is about the truth-seeking process. We need to seek and establish the truth. What happened during this? In the past, we talk about during the revolution, that what had happened, that what are the human rights violations that had happened. It is important to look at it. For example, like Baziji case. Baziji case had happened. Who committed the Baziji? Who gave the order to bomb them? And who actually bombed them? How many people have been killed? And also how many have suffered, and that all these, that it is important for us to resolve that as well. That only then we need people to understand and clearly and what have really happened. Only that means that we call it the first part of the transitional justice, and we did the transitional justice is necessary. It must be done as well. First, we need to be able to record the violations. Only when we can record the human rights violations, and we'll be able to take action and then bring perpetrators to justice and to hold them accountable as well. Only then we can go to reparation and restitution process as well. Only then we'll be able to, bring punishment, punishment to the perpetrators. That only then that if we cannot, punish the perpetrators, if we let them be in the society as they are, that doesn't work. That we need to take lessons from the past, from the history as well. There has been many forms of transitions in the past. In the 2010, we had transition from the military dictatorship to the democracy period. So 2010, that was a first transition, but when we were some form of democracy in Myanmar, but at that time that there was no TJ, no transitional justice at all. We never heard about transitional justice. We only had heard about peace and national conciliation. That's the only thing we have heard in the past, and that was only there. What happened is that military that is in a way strengthened. That military hold the power. That doesn't matter how the military had acted or how the military had harmed the people, or how they have massacred or whatever they have done against the people. Military was able to consolidate power. Military remained unpunished. Military enjoyed impunity, and the military was not punished for any of the crimes that they have committed in the past. And that, in a way, giving military impunity as well. The impunity gives military even more, in a way that does also allow the military to commit even more violence, even more atrocities right now as well. That if we this time around, if we go beyond the teaching process and the national conciliation, we cannot let that happen again. Because we never tried in the past, in the 2010, we never tried to hold them for the crimes they have committed, hold them accountable. We never had to give them punishment. So it is important, because we haven't been able to be successful. We haven't been successful in stopping the culture of impunity. So we cannot do that happen again. After the Spring Revolution, beyond the revolution, we need to establish a transitional justice. All the people who have perpetrated the crimes and the military harder, there must be action against them as well. If we cannot hold them accountable for the crimes that they have committed, that means that for the victims, it will be even more of even it's like doubling the pain, because victims will never get disclosure. They will not get justice in a way that will also enable the perpetrators to commit such crimes in the future as well. Another that process we need to do is that restitution and reparation is necessary. So that we talk about human rights violations. There are perpetrators, there are victims, and it is important to look at what the victims have suffered from. Have they lost a part of their body? Have they been maimed? Have they their houses? Have they been killed? Have they lost their loved ones? Have their livelihood have been destroyed? For the CDMers, they have lost their position. That they have lost important part as well, and that. There are a lot of things that happen. So after that, CDMers have lost a lot. Their rights have been violated. So in each and every incident, each and every activity that people have suffered, there must be restitution or reparation. When we say restitution, there are two parts as well. One is a symbolic restitution, another is a financial restitution. So when we say that financial restitution, for example, like, okay, how much you have lost because of dignity. I mean, maybe we give some financial support to the person who is physically, handicapped. There are limitations to what we can do because the country might not have the financial resources, but symbolic restitution is something as a government can do very well. That for the people who have suffered, they consider what could be recognized as heroes for the revolution, and that maybe to recognize them as heroes, to build something symbolic for the loss that they have taken to recognize. So it could be a memorial, it could be a memorial ceremony, it could be some symbolic, and then where the victims are recognized. As a government, we recognize that people have suffered. As a government, we recognize that these are the perpetrators, that the military regime, Sakasa SAC, is responsible for they have committed. By recognition, such kind of recognition, a symbolic gesture is important. So the victims will feel that we have been recognized for what we have been recognized, and also that that the perpetrator has been recognized as such. So people will feel this some kind of satisfaction as well, because restitution process is important, is an important part of the transitional justice. So that's why we need to do that. And then when we say TJ, the TJ also include institutional reform. The institutional reform is important because it is important to do the institutional reform. We also have said that before as well, that in the institutional reform is important in transitional justice. It is important to ensure it is important to increase the capacity as well. It is important to ensure all the institutions respect and that follow their federal standards, and that we need to have a government that respects the democratic rights and as well the human rights. If not, we have lived many years under some military dictatorship, and then we also have the practices of following the authoritarian regime. That means that it is important to change those who are in the different mechanism as well. For example, like justice, it is important that our justice standards must be in line with the international standards. So we need to follow the standards, that the justice should not be those in the hands of the who have the powerful or the elite, and that all that it is important when different important mechanisms are in line with it. So TJ is important for implement in the TJ. Also, institutional reform is also necessary to ensure that all the institutions have followed the democratic standards, international standards, human rights standards as well. So TJ is very important and necessary for the people of Myanmar. If you ask us why we should have TJ, the answer is very clear: because we want justice. We have suffered in different ways. We have suffered from many forms of violence and suppression under the military dictators. That it is important for us to be able to have transitional justice, to remove those people from power or from the positions where they can commit a crime. It is also important for us to know what really happened. That Myanmar, the commander-in-chief, is a dictator, and we must be able to speak out as it were. TJ, part of the TJ is about seeking truth. Who are perpetrators, who have been part of the crimes, who have committed these crimes, and who can be considered as international criminals according to the international laws as well. And these criminals, these perpetrators, must be held to account for the crimes that they have committed, as well as there's restitution for the people of Myanmar, so that each and every of the victims will have some form of restitution. People should have the right to be able to ask for justice and restitution. That's why we need transitional justice. In addition to that, we also need to make sure there's transitional justice to ensure that there will be non-recurrence of such crimes or such violence in the future. That it is also important to ensure that our society and the communities will be able to enjoy justice and to be able to go for peace. That's why we need TJ to ensure justice. In short, I would say here, it is important to understand TJ, because when you say transitional justice, transitional justice is about human rights, and it's about justice. And it is important. It is a way to find justice for the crimes or the human rights violation. So it's not about retaliation. It's not about revenge. And that's what we need to understand by transitional justice. If we understand clearly what transitional justice is, then each and every one of us will understand that not like the previous government, who refused to talk about TJ and focus so much, we need peace and we need reconciliation. No, it is important to have a genuine TJ, transitional justice, so that there will be justice and then we can build peace and stability. Because that's what the people are asking for. That's what people have been demanding for the government is they as a victims, and the victims' family or the loved ones, they cannot forgive and forget. They need the restitution. They need the perpetrators to be held accountable for the crimes they have committed. And that's what it is we will need it. That's what we will have been urging for the government to do. That's that not just energy government, but also the future government of Myanmar. It is important to find justice for the people of Myanmar through the transitional process, justice process. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Siama. Thank you very much for the point that you raised. And that you have given a very comprehensive discussion about transitional justice, that the transitional justice is essential, and that the perpetrator must be held accountable for the crimes that they committed. Without holding the perpetrator accountable, there will be suspicions, and that as well. And that at the same time that it is also important important to have transitional justice as well. That to get transitional justice is necessary, and that to stop the impunity is important. It is also important also to recognize the victims, or to bring justice to all the victims. We all have responsible to bring a transitional justice to all. So thank you, Siama, for the discussion as well. Now that we are to the people who have been joining us today's discussion, please join on the Zoom, and then also you can also raise your hand to ask questions as well. So we also have Sia Ute U. So now that we are going to wrap up the session, and that we also like to invite Sia Ute U again as well, so that we do have a question that is the question about the crimes that are committed. There are issues or the cases that need justice, that took place among the local PDF. So how does emoji that address these cases? Does a person needs to file a complaint to the emoji? What is the emoji process? And also some of the points that has been discussed in the group as well. That can you also share your perspective on the points that we have raised today?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. First part is that Captain Kaung with discussions in response to this is in regards to the the case. And then the other one is that about the transitional justice. And in the first part Kaung was just in discussions that it's about transparent and then just judiciary system. So what we need to do is that the truth must be seen by the public. So the work that you are doing has to be seen and then by everybody. We call it public hearing. So it has to be like a public hearing. So it is therefore like the public here, it has to be the public hearing, and then the rule of law, the justice is that there is a public opinion, like the people, do they believe that like this is like injustice, so this is justice, so it is this kind of measurement. That's why we are doing it according to the law, but then they are their processes needs to be kind of like truthful and so people need to know about this. So this is or we need in conclusion, like we need to understand this that so by doing like this, the main purpose is that the judges needs to be aware of this. Like with regards to these questions, the Justice Ministry, if there are some cases like that, MOD, the Ministry of Defense, MOH, Ministry of Home Affairs, and then Ministry of Justice is working in three ministries is working together. So
ပြည်သူတရားရုံးကပဲစစ်စစ်ရှင်ရင်ပဲကျန်တဲ့ကျွန်တော်ပဲလက်နက်ကိုင်ဖွဲ့စည်းရမှာဝင်ရောက်
the armed groups cannot be influenced in this. This is the first thing, and under NUG, if it is like this, then the MOD court will kind of like adjudicate the cases because of the military intention. They are kind of like groups, but then under the change of command of NUG or not under the change of command of NUG, then we have like kind of like semi-military and civil issues. So it is not just only the MOD, but then there is going to be civil issue as well, and then like the civil court will take care of it too. If there are cases with the civilian and military issues, then it will be on the civilian court. So we have like 1958, 1959, those that so it will go to the civilian court because this is in relation to the civilian people. So this is what we are doing in the system that is under the NUG, and then this judicial system is working in coordination among the three justice, the Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Defense, and then Ministry of Home Affairs are working together. We will continue to work like this, and therefore MOJ is like we kind of like work with the civilian courts, and then so we are kind of like compliant with our like code of conduct. So
ကျွန်တော်ဒါတွေကိုအကြံပြုနေဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဒါကြောင့်မို့လို့ကျွန်တော်တို့တရားရုံးက
we are suggesting like whatever kind of cases, but then like if so if it is known like if it is to let the people know, that we will always let the public know, and then it has to be the public hearing as well. So it is therefore and then the thing is that when it comes to transitional justice, the most important thing is that military supremacy it has to be there anyway. This is like zero tolerance, and
ဒီမီဒီယာလို့ခေါ်တဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီဥစ္စာကဒီကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီမီဒီယာရစတန်ပေါ့ပေးထားတာပဲဖြစ်ပါတယ်တော့ဒါကြောင့်မို့လို့ကျွန်တော်တို့ပြန်ကြည့်မယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်
it is therefore in the past there is like NCGUB in the past, and then we went to the tripartite dialogue, military, and then the NLD party, and the ethnic armed groups, and then we will try to set up and then in here we do not do this, and then military supremacy is not there at all. We cannot accept it at all, and then civilian supremacy has to be there, and the military has to be under the supremacy. So if you are elected, then you will get the political power. Either you look at Philippines or the or Indonesia, you will see this. So there is like mutual respect there, respect on the civilian people. So this is the way we are working on. We are doing that, and so if you cannot accept this, then this is as you know, like there are people who are coming into this, and then we have a number of staff coming into defect and then coming into the people's sites. So in the future, this is also our expectation. In order to be like this, we need civic education need to be given. So it should be trained in the beginning. Like the new generation has to be given this information, and then we need this. And when doing this, the most important thing is when the revolution is going to be successful, we need these questions. Like victory, it has to be victory with values. And then only then we will assume that it cannot be successful recklessly, and then we cannot say that like we have attacked and then conquer the military and then we are successful. We cannot say that, but then things could be even worse. So we have to what are our standards, and then we need to have the rule of law, democracy, and the human rights need to be ensured, and then a federal democracy we need to have the fundamental rights and formation. Only then we will be able to have the victory that we will go forward to our new state. So democracy with dignity, and our victory has to be like this. In order to do this, only starting from now on, we need to go across this. And we were talking about the justice issues, and it has to be transparent justice system, and in front of people, it is not just only then, and for people to see this, and this is the truth. We need to kind of like be able to present in front of the people like this. Like people only will have trust on this if we can show this. And if we do not have the people trust, then it is like it will go in vain. And then we will have the victory, but then the victory has to be victory with dignity. And like the Magnitsky said, discussed, like the time that we have to go across is about the transitional justice. And when we talk about like the right to, we have to right to justice. So we will have to work on this, and those who who committed this, we have to do this. In the nation reconciliation, if they kind of like, if they accept it, if they say the truth, then we will think about it. There are things, for example, made out like we cannot forgive them. So for criminal justice, we will have to sanction them anyway. And it is not just a sanction them, and then those who have suffered, those the survivor need reparation as well. And so this so mentally and physically support needs to be given, and in order for we should have social justice for that and the remedies for that. And so in order for these things not to happen in the future, we need to have the institutional reform as well, democratically. And
immunity.
What happened right now is the impunity and immunity. And so they are killing people and then nobody is taking action on them. And so, like for example, like the issue, and many people die, and so nobody is kind of like taking actions on that, and therefore they continue to do this because they have the impunity and the immunity as well. They don't need to care about anything. That's why. So we talked about the immunity, and therefore we need to sanction this carefully. So what we are doing is that it should be prototype for federal type, and then in order to have a federal state, this is the work that we need to start doing, like the judiciary system activities. It's the same. We have to aim at this. And therefore, like we need to have like the justice system. Right now, we have like 25 township level court, and then prototype for federal type. This is what we are doing, and then according to the democracy standard, we are working on that, and like Dr. Su said, so we will have to kind of like bring up young people, young generation to understand about it. We don't need to wait about this. We can start the transition from now on, and then and therefore, if we need to work on this, and it is quite difficult to change a system. We cannot just work on only one, and each and everyone, we have like different capabilities, and only that we do this, and we need to have mutual respect. And right now we have power, and then we have this a weapon. Like the truth must prepare. The truth is the strength, and the strength is not the truth. The truth is the strength. It is therefore we people who need justice and then need truth. Nobody can deny it. Nobody can go against this. This is what I would like to say. And then so thank you very much, everybody, for your participation and your efforts in this Spring Revolutions. And I hope, thank you very much for this.
ပြည့်ပြည့်စုံစုံနဲ့ဆွေးနွေးပေးသွားတယ်ဆရာဆွေးနွေးချက်ထဲမှာဆိုကျွန်တော်တို့အားလုံးအဖွဲ့အစည်းတိုင်းလူတိုင်း
Thank you, Sia, for very comprehensive points, and that we have a lot of learning from you as well. And that so thank you for. We are also thank you for a lot of points for us to learn as well. This that we are also we have taken quite a bit of time with the discussions, and instead of asking more questions, I would like to invite our panelist speakers to respond to the questions that we have received in the comments, and that also that the question is that the judges and the prosecutors who have acted under corruption and judge people not in accordance with the law under the military regime, will there be action taken against such judges and prosecutors? What about the unfair or unjust the judgment that has been passed? Will they be recorrected? Will they be correction? Another question is that. What about the crimes that have been committed by the revolutionary forces? Do they need to be do they need to hide them right now, or do they need to be addressed and then taken action as well? To respond to this question, I'll invite Manisi. So Manisi, please keep your points concise for the sake of time. Thank you. So, well, with the military had these non-public, closed-door trials inside the prison. We want these trials to be public. We want it to be open courts as well. Especially the process. There are many processes. Yeah, we are displaying that where there are a lot of political activists or a lot of civilians have been arrested for political charges as well. One people that in every they were explained in every stage of the trial there must be justice. There must be international judiciary standards, and these standards must be applied with. But however, under the military codes or under the codes and the codes under the military junta do not follow any form of the criteria, not just for the political prisoners, but for those people who are exercising their freedom of expression, for their they have the right to freedom of expression, for the spreading that some of the people they are not guilty of the crimes that they have been accused of. All these judgments and all these cases that has been decided by the courts under the military junta, they are in violation of the justice. These are not courts; they are not just courts. So it is. I think it is important to take action against them as well. That during the transitional justice, I think it is important to be able to be look at the violations, what is happening, where we say on the ground violation happening inside the prison as well. That when a person has been violated of his right to fair trial, that is a violation of human rights, and the courts. And the courts and the prosecutors, and that when the courts and the prosecutors block the accused of the right to defense, and that's a human right violation, and they are violating human rights, and they are perpetrators of human right violation. It is important to think about how we, in the transitional justice, we also need to think about how do we hold them accountable for the human right violations that they have committed. I think it is important to have protocols and procedures to move forward. Definitely, yes. That I will say that yes, we can. In short, we can say that yes, we can take a legal action against such prosecutors and judges as well. And the crimes of which they have accused the political activists or the people during the revolution, I think that what do we need to do? So if a person during this revolution, but we also we hear about the cases like the rape case, or that there are also be cases of crimes that I think it is important to the violence as well. It is important to speak out. We need to speak out in a correct way, because we are fighting against injustice. We are fighting against what is not fair. So the same way we are fighting against Myanmar and this military junta, that we are fighting against the concept that those who have the power, those who have the weapons can do whatever they want. That's what we are fighting against. That's what we are fighting against, and we are fighting for democracy. We're fighting for, if those who have the weapons, and if they are abusing the people, if they are violating the human rights, then they are the same as a military junta. We need to speak out. We need to lodge a complaint, and we need to, bring the case to MOHI, to the Ministry of Justice, or Ministry of, we need to bring the Ministry of Human Rights as well. We need to use using mechanisms to complain. If we cannot file a case, then it is important to record the case and collect the evidence, and then file that case against the ministry, so that we don't want new dictators, we don't want new authoritarian, we don't want future generations of dictators as well. We need to bring up, we need to speak out, and we need to speak out or complain such a case in a correct way. If we cannot do that, then we will need to criticize, we'll need to highlight that to the government, because that's the practice of democracy. We cannot keep silent about injustice. We cannot just keep silent about the crisis, about the human rights violations that have been committed by anyone in this period. It is important that we speak out. Thank you, Siama, for your response. I hope that all the people who have been listening, that will be the end of today's session. Thank you for joining. And as in the closing, that we will ask our panelists to give a few words to wrap up the session, and then we'll be ending today's discussion here and now. So Siamasu, anything you would like to say to wrap up this discussion? This evening, we discuss about the justice, the something that we all aspire to, and something justice standards and human rights standards that we all looking for. We hope that all the people of Myanmar will get the justice and that judicial standards that we have. I wish that they will achieve them, but wishing alone is not enough. It is also important for us to believe in the cause and remain committed to the cause and keep demanding for justice and that the judicial rights as well. In our society, that those who commit the crimes and those who discriminate, those who cause violence and oppression, we need to get rid of all these people to have social justice and justice in our society. So for peace, stability, and justice in our society, it is important that we remove those the oppressors, the authoritarians, and the dictators who are killing us, who are oppressing us, who are torturing us. It is important to fight for justice. It is important that many of our generations or the younger generation have sacrificed their lives. It is important to keep in mind of the sacrifice that they have made, and we need to keep on fighting in this revolution so that we can live a better legacy for our future generations who will not suffer from the injustice like we have suffered, that they will enjoy from the justice and impartiality and independence of the judiciary. So I would like to encourage all of us to keep fighting. The revolution shall absolutely prevail. Thank you, Siama. Cô Kaung Tư Nguyen. Any closing remarks? Thank you. I am happy to have the opportunity to participate in today's discussion. And to all the people of Myanmar who are under the military regime, I think it is important for people to remain safe. So please take care of yourself. Please remain safe, and then find ways to stay safe and try to live in a way that is on the ground so that you can remain safe. Thank you. Safety for all. Revolution shall prevail. Thank you. I would like to invite Siama Rose to give any short closing remarks. Siama. Thank you. To all the people who are listening to our talk show, thank you very much for joining us. And the ones that we have discussed in today's discussion will give you some food for thought. And to achieve the future federal democracy that we all want, it is important for all of us to fight for it. It is politically or armed resistance, or do whatever you can to contribute to the revolution, be part of the revolution, and stay committed to the revolution. Only then we'll be able to achieve the goal that we want, the justice that we want, and that the independent judiciary that we all want. I think it is important for all the people to be aware about the revolution and remain committed to the cause and fight. Continue to fight in the struggle for justice. The revolution shall prevail. Thank you. So today, under the topic of justice and open judiciary, we'd like to thank all the speakers as well as our special guests, Uday U, Minister of Justice from the National Unity Government. Thank you all for joining us despite your busy schedules. Thank you for the contributions. And we'd like to wrap up this evening discussion here. The revolution shall prevail. See you next week. Thank you.